Alright, so I'm making this video to explain a radical idea that has helped us increase our income by double in our business, but cut my work hours specifically by half. So there was once a time I would work 60, 70 hours a week. Now I only work 30, 35 hours. And so there are a couple of things that happened there. So one of the big shifts that happened to me in 2024 last year was realizing that I was not building a business. I was building a full-time job. And so if you don't know this by now, our business, we run a marketing strategy business, a company, an agency, SEO, social media, and paid ad services. And for the longest time, I was just creating another job for myself. It was taking up so much of my time on top of everything else that I was doing. And so it was costing me time freedom. And so I didn't have a lot of freedom in that regard. I was creating a prison even. I realized that because I was glued to my desk every single day. I was always in meetings. I was always working on something, working till like 10 o'clock in the evening, sometimes even like into the late nights. And I didn't want that kind of life. And I really thought to myself, and I asked myself, what do I really want? I want a business that gives me more freedom. And to do that, the one thing that I thought to myself, what is one strategy, one thing that can change for me so I can achieve that kind of life? And just this stupid, crazy, simple idea came into my mind. I need to make my time more valuable. And that might sound super simple, but that was such a big eye-opener for me because I realized that the reason why I was spending so much time just to make money was because my time was not becoming more valuable. I was spending more time just to make more money. And so the math of it is, if I just work more hours, then I can make more money. But it was actually the other way around. I need to keep time consistent. I don't want to work more than these hours, but I want to make the time more valuable, if that makes sense. So if, for instance, if my time is now worth like $100 an hour, then I need to find a way to make it worth $200 an hour so that I'm doubling my income, but not spending more time at work. Or on the other side, I could keep my income steady, but cut my work hours by half. And so essentially what happened was last year, I was able to quadruple the value of my time. And so I was actually able to cut my hours by half, but then double the income that I was earning for the business. And so how do you get to that point? How do you make your time more valuable? So I want to share just two things, right? Just two words to keep in mind. Number one is the proficiency, which I think is probably speaks for itself, but I'll speak about that a little bit in a while. But secondly also is the perception. So those two words, right? Just to keep those two keywords in mind. So let's talk about proficiency. You need to get really, really good at something that's highly valuable to other people. And so for the longest time, the skill that I was focusing on was content writing. So I was highly, okay at it. And I was writing content, but I started to see the content, as something that wasn't as valuable anymore, especially when AI came into the mix, because all of a sudden people can get content really, really fast. So what's the one thing that AI could not do? It was the strategy side of things, like the SEO strategy, the packaging, the messaging, which, you can ask AI to do that, but it's not always as valuable as it is. And so I started looking at those skills and saying, how can I develop these skills so that I can make more time more valuable? And I developed those skills. I attended trainings. I watched courses. Most of them were actually free. I didn't want to spend money during that time, which, sorry for another day, right? But I just, put in time to really develop skills that were valuable to people, that businesses would be willing to pay for at a higher rate. So that's the first thing, really be building your proficiency. But secondly, also, it's the perception. Because a lot of the times, like when it comes to making your time more valuable, and I didn't want to accept this at first, many times it's just optics, right? Because when people see that your time is highly accessible, they don't really value it as much. It's like for instance, like anyone can send you a message or anyone can meet with you, or if you're in your office, I see this a lot, especially with people who have like physical jobs, right? Or physical office spaces. You can just knock at your door and ask you a question. And in that case, they don't really see your time as valuable because they can invade, your space, your head space, your physical space anytime, right? And so it doesn't look as valuable. Versus making people realize, hey, this person's time is valuable. You can't just invade their space. So like one thing that I did, for instance, is if you want to book a meeting with me, then you have to book a meeting at least the day before. So if you book a meeting on the day itself, it's not going to happen. So that's the one decision that I made. And secondly, I was very guilty of this. Anytime that anyone would call me, I would just pick up the phone, right? And just be ready to answer and speak for like 10, 15 minutes, sometimes even longer than that. But I had to change that. And so essentially, like I made a code in myself that if someone calls me on the spot, I'm not going to answer right then and there, even if I'm not doing anything, right? But then I send that person a message back and tell that person, hey, sorry for missing your call. And if you're watching this video and I did this to you, my apologies, but now you understand why. You can call me back at this time, right? Because I wanted people to see that my time was valuable. And so you have to build that perception around my time is not something that you should take for granted. And so by doing that, you're lowering the supply. So it's this whole demand and supply thing, right? The economics of it. It doesn't just apply to, goods and services or to money. It also applies as well to time, right? They're making your time in higher demand because you're building proficiency, you're learning new skills that can make you more valuable, your time more valuable, your skills are something that actually add value to people. And then there's also like the supply side of things, making your time smaller supply rather. So that could look different for all of us, right? Some of us, that could mean that you're not going to work on the weekends, or you're not going to take calls anymore, or set meetings, or do anything, or even respond to your boss after 7 p.m. And I understand that these are things that are easier said than done, but we just need to like take the first step. So if you're here and you're saying, I want to earn more income but not sacrifice time for money, then the bigger strategy there is to make your time more valuable so that you're earning more money but not spending as much time. I hope that makes sense. I mean, just the math of it, right? If your time is worth $100 now, try to get it to a point where it's worth $150, $200. Like, what's it going to take for you to do that? So what are the proficiencies that you need to build? What are the skills that you need to learn? How can you make the perception of your time, the optics of your time, less accessible, so that people understand and that you set boundaries and people go and say, I'm not going to waste this person's time because their time is valuable. So I hope that helps. Really just short, like really quick video. And yeah, let's make our time more valuable so that we can increase our income without having to sacrifice the freedom that we want. I'll see you in the next video.